So,
Hi, I'm Rachel.
and I'm Matt.
Welcome to the Strange and Beautiful Book Club. Just out of the theater edition, Maddie didn't even take his boots off.
I wore boots.
You did wear, well, you have two pairs of shoes, a pair of sandals, and a pair of boots. And you wore your boots to go see what movie, Matthew?
I forgot.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I thought you were going to recite the line from the very beginning. Dune 2. We saw Dune 2.
There was a lot of
You know what? I liked the sound design in this movie. I like that every different house kind of had a tone that had an other world. The Harkonnen sounds were very otherworldly. Even their alarm sound wasn't like rop, rop. It was like brop, brop.
Right.
They kind of were like the bullfrog people, the white bullfrog people, which they explained because they have a black sun. So
Is that how they explain that?
Yeah, I think so. Because like the Reverend Mothers, when they're okay, we're going to be talking about Dune. We're going to be talking about Dune 2. We're going to be talking about anything in Dune 2. If you have not seen Dune 2 and you're the kind of person that doesn't like to hear about a movie before you've seen it, stop. Go see the movie and then come back. We'll be here. We're recording this because we just got out of the theater and I really want to talk about it. And
Rachel has a lot to say.
it was, it's kind of like in Monty Python and the Meaning of Life when they have the whole song about how every sperm is sacred. We can't just go sit in the living room and have this discussion and not record it. No one will be able to listen to it.
Every comment is sacred.
Every commentary is sacred. That is the podcast. That is the whole idea behind the podcast revolution, I'm pretty sure. So here we are making our pithy commentary on this movie, which is complex. I feel complex about this movie. I do not feel one way or another about this movie. Anyway, let me finish my Bene Gesserit story. When the Bene Gesserit walk in, they're all wearing their black. And then when they walk out into the light, suddenly they look like they're wearing white. So everyone who is out in the sun on the Harkonnen planet is like white or black. They're washed out.
Yeah, it's like forced monochrome.
Yeah, and then when they have the like fireworks, they're not fireworks. They're like ink explosions. That was
a cool effect.
I was like, oh, that looks really 70s. You know how everything in the 70s was like, let me film this liquid doing cool shit. Blap!
It was an effective way to have an interesting visual effect.
It was, and it
cheap.
worked. And it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this looks like. It looks like they squished stuff between two pieces of glass a bunch and then like superimposed it on the film, which is fine. I was fine with it. So I feel complex about this. I feel like there were things that they did really, 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 really well. And I think that there were the second half, I think, is where I got like, oh, what? What?
I liked most of the character adaptations.
Yeah, no, all the character changes were fine. I think the second half to me just felt very male. And I wanted a slightly more feminine gaze on the second half because to me, my favorite, you know why? It's because my favorite part of Dune is the Chani Paul love story.
Right.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think Dune Messiah, and even Children of Dune is about Paul and Chani and the legacy of what he went through to be with her.
Yes.
And the second half of this movie is him like torpedoing their relationship and then not really doing anything to get it back because he knows he's prescient. He knows she's going to come back later anyway, which is fine. But I think if we had one or two small moments in the second half, like as soon as we go to the South, if we had gotten one more moment where he was like, I don't want to do this. Instead of him being like, well, fuck it, here we go.
Right.
I do think Timothée Chalamet's acting in the second half, stellar. When he walks in and he gives that speech in the middle where he's like, I am your Messiah. I am the Lisan al-Gaib. And he's like telling people about what they're praying about. Fucking perfect. That's the most voice acting I have ever heard him do.
Yes. He actually changed his inflection and his tonality. Yeah.
He spoke up. He wasn't like, oh, I want to go solve. It was like,
he enunciated.
Oh, and the pacing of his words, everything was perfect. It's exactly what you wanted from like a religious speech being given. It almost felt like, what do they call the caller in Muslim cities? The Islam guy who will go up in the tower and cry out the prayer, which we just looked up, and it's called a muezzin, but they have a very specific cadence when they're crying out the words, because then it elongates certain words and it kind of adds emphasis and it adds sort of a lyricalness to when they speak. And he does a really, really good job of doing that. The one thing that he cannot do is power walk. I need someone to take Timothée Chalamet aside. One, check and make sure it's not structural. Does he have one leg that is shorter than the other? And then two, he needs someone to help him with that, because he's going to end up with a back problem. Because the hobble walk was a lot. Like I kept wanting him to power walk, but like, you know where I'm going with this? Mm-hmm. There is like I'm about to fuck shit up walk. It's how I look when I'm on the muscle. When I'm on business, I have a walk. And I wanted him to have I'm on fucking business walk. And it was the like, his usual, I don't know.
Right. He obviously had a vocal coach for the Fremen language stuff.
Yeah.
Why didn't they have like a walking coach?
Yeah. Maybe they did. They're like, okay.
Or a choreographer.
Tim, walk like this. And he's like, okay. And then he did it. And they're like, he's still doing the same walk. And they're like, hey, it's Timothée Chalamet, just let it happen.
Maybe Timothée Chalamet and his like walking choreographer advisor person was like, it just left me.
I don't know, but Zendaya walks the same way. So maybe they just hung out too much.
Sean Connery and his Spanish language coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, who's going to tell him? They're like, nobody's going to tell him. It's fine. He went through the motions. That's all that's really required. It's fine. It's like the tiniest of tiny little tiny things is his stupid walk, but it's fine. It's fine. I really love the first half. Javier Bardem as Stilgar is that was the perfect casting choice. I have no notes. The blend of like humor but strength. And then, oh my God, the choice to have a scale of how religious the Fremen are.
Yes.
And can I just say that the South being the home of the fundamentalist religion is, it feels accurate. It just feels.
I really liked that they connected his different accent to the fact that he's from the South.
Yeah, didn't you hear his accent? It's because Javier Bardem, a little bit like Sean Connery, I'm sure, has been given lessons, and he's like, fuck you, I'm a Spaniard.
This is how I talk.
This is how you hired me
because
I'm Javier Bardem. You don't
fucking tell me how to talk.
You want just a standard deep voice? You go get one. You get me. You get me. I love Javier. Like, I love Javier. Like, just deeply. He's in a movie called Mar Adentro, The Sea Within. And it's so fabulous. And he's so fabulous in it. And I always remember him from that, even though he's gone on and had like a huge career as like a action star. I always remember him from that one, which is not an action movie at all. When they were like, oh yeah, the South, he's from the South, that's why he's super religious. I was like, oh, because you could literally hear the movie playing next door, which is playing a movie called The Chosen, which I'm pretty sure is one of those like Christian produced movies.
Oh.
Yeah, ironically, The Chosen is about Jesus' growing influence and religious leaders rising up against him, and then him demanding his followers rise up against the religious leaders. So it's like, if you are too Christian to watch Dune, you can go watch Jesus Dune. That's fine.
Yeah, definitely no parallels there.
No, nope.
I did keep hearing that movie, and
yeah,
I thought that's
That's because we live in a shitty little town. We have a shitty little movie theater. And ironically, I've seen a lot of people that were like, oh my God, I want to go see it today, but all the tickets were sold out. There were like 10 people in the theater. It was like me and Matt and like a bunch of dudes, which absolutely.
Yeah. I think there was
that,
one
oh
other
no,
woman.
he brought his girlfriend. She's not going to know what's going on. Look, when I walked in, she's fine. But I was
Although
like,
I'm pretty sure the people behind us were talking about Sijuan Liu's Dark Forest trilogy.
oh,
When
so
we
you could have
first
turned
went
around
in.
and been like, hello.
I almost did,
Hello.
but then they
Is it
switched
me you're
to another
looking
book. But I almost turned around and said, "Are you talking about the Dark Forest books?"
Hello.
Maybe
I'm
I could
also
find
a
a nerd
nerd.
friend,
Yeah.
a local nerd
A
friend.
local nerd friend. Yeah. So the beginning, good. The Chani Paul Usul Muad'Dib. I love how we just like squish those all
Oh yeah,
together.
and I like that they threw the Usul name in.
Yeah, and her being Sahaya, although in the book Sahaya is just his like pet name for her. But
Yeah.
so it's like sandwiching that into a prophecy where they're like, she
Man,
will bring him back with the tears of the desert spring. And you're like,
I was
oh,
really
okay.
waiting for like a quiet interlude moment with
Yeah.
Paul and Chani where he calls her my Sahaya.
Yeah.
But
Maybe we'll get that in part 3 because by the end
maybe
of part 2,
because
you're
they'll
like,
have to reconcile. I don't like the artificial conflict because
I mean, it's not artificial. I get where they're coming from, but I'm looking for the Chani from the book who would have been like, okay, Paul, I see you. Like, okay,
right,
that sucks and I see you.
in the book they make a point of her explicitly like saying that I recognize that I'm in love with a man who's also like a messiah.
Yeah. I know I share you with
And-
things that are bigger than
yes.
both of us. Yeah.
And she's okay with that.
Yeah. And I think a little bit of this, probably actually a lot of this, is yes, the chemistry between Timothy and Zendaya is great, but Timothy cannot deliver a quiet, emotive line to save his motherfucking life. Like the line, I just want you to know I will love you forever, was literally
It
like,
fell pretty flat.
I'll love you for as long as I draw breath, was like, I just want you to know I'm going to love you for as long as I draw breath. And you're like, okay. I mean, okay. I get it.
Yeah, it didn't hit.
I mean, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I can see why they cast him when we do the big stuff, when we do the little stuff. He's not a full face actor. He's like I look impassive and I can cry. He has like two things. And so I keep wanting him to just blow it out of the water, and he doesn't blow it out. He's fine, right? He's fine. He's not great, but he's fine. And he's Paul. We can't undo this is done, right? But
We should have brought Alec Newman back
Alec
and
Newman would've
de-aged him.
crushed this. But it kind of feels like Anakin Skywalker. This feels a little Hayden Christensen, where you kept wanting Hayden Christensen to like, you wanted to believe the love story, and you never believed the love story because a woman never looked at that script, right? A woman never fucking looked at that script. And so it's very male, and this felt very male. And I think there were choices that were made that I totally understand, and they work just fine. Just because it's male doesn't mean it's bad. But there is like a flavor to the writing. I can tell you it's very masculine. And, like having Jessica be the bad guy, like, oh my fucking God, that was perfect. Like, first, her not wanting to take the water of life, like them literally threatening her into.
Well, first, her wanting to get off of Arrakis ASAP at the end of part 1.
Yeah.
Great. I like it.
Yep.
And then Paul being the one to say, no, I gotta stay.
Yeah.
And then to continue with that trend of Jessica not wanting to exploit the Missionaria Protectiva, the Bene Gesserit propaganda prophecy stuff. I really like that.
Yeah.
And it adds a lot of depth. It adds autonomy to the Jessica character.
Right.
And then she has to do it or they'll die. Okay, fine. Put a gun to my head.
Yeah, fucking fine.
I'll preserve
I
mine.
love that scene where Stilgar's like, come take a walk with me. And they go over to the water and he's like, look at all that water. He's like, we don't touch that water. That's sacred water. And they're like pouring Jamis's water into it. And then he's like, so I want you to become the Reverend Mother because that's part of the prophecy of the Lisa Nalgaib.
I was waiting for him, for the Stilgar hitting on Jessica line. And I thought they would have had great chemistry.
Oh, yeah. Better the better.
Maybe they didn't want to show up.
That's because
Paul
if
and
you
Shawnee.
unleash Javier Bardem, you unleash Javier Bardem.
Right. If it's like, you have three choices here.
You gotta rein that shit in, because if you're like, Javier, she's into you, he's gonna be like, oh, you fucking watch. I'm gonna do it. So it's fine. But basically he's like, if you don't do it, you get to go, you go in the pool voluntarily or involuntarily, you go in the pool, or you get to be Reverend Mother, you decide. And so she's like, well, I guess I won't die. And then it kind of drives her crazy, and she can talk to Alia, which was an interesting way of making Alia a character.
Right. They shortened the time span.
Yeah, she's pregnant the whole movie, which was like, ugh, okay, whatever. It kind of reminded me of in The Shining, like the movie The Shining with Jack Nicholson, where he has the thing that lives in his finger, and he's like, meow, meow. He's like, this, my finger says this. That's what it kind of felt like when she's like, your sister wants to know what the fuck is wrong with you. And he's like, okay, well, tell her. She doesn't get to boss me around when she's still in the movie. I get it. It's fine. It was a great way of including Alia as a character way, way back. I'm a little mad I didn't get the Alia and the Baron scene where she's like, he's afraid. Make him afraid some more.
That's like one of the only redeeming scenes in the David Lynch Dune is, hello, grandfather.
Hello, grandfather. But it's fine.
Meet the Atreides, come Jafar.
And then she goes out to kill the wounded like a good Fremen. Yeah.
Like a good Fremen child.
Like a good Fremen child. I mean, we lost, but okay. I agree with all the changes. I do. I do. I think that the way that he shorthanded a lot of things and then like clarified a lot of people's intentions. And I was really worried Irulan was going to be like, no, I'm going to be the knife fighter. Yeah, I'm going to be the fighter. And no, they got to make her intellectual, which was like, and mildly tragic. I don't think Christopher Walken was the choice for this.
I think he tried really hard.
I think he tried so hard, and he looked so old.
Christopher Walken really suppressed his Christopher Walken voice
as much as he could, which was not 100%.
And it reminded me a lot of how William Shatner talks. And William Shatner has a condition that makes him talk that way.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Christopher Walken has the same thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, sorry, I can't help it.
He's just like, no, you tell me.
I have to take these breaks
Yeah.
in my speech. I can't help it. So
yeah, there's the dramatic scene where he's talking to the Baron. He's like, now tell me what you know about Muad'Dib. And you're like, okay, well, thank you, Christopher. I really appreciate you in this moment, but you were not the choice for this. I don't care if you were in that music video where you dance too. If you walk without rhythm, you won't attract the worm.
I wonder if that's why he got picked.
Yeah. They're like, tee. I doubt it. I don't think Dennis was like...
Dennis.
Fucking Dennis. I don't think Denis was like, I mean, he was in that pretty cool music video in like the early 2000s. So I think he's got this. The other one was Austin Butler's voice. I get where we were going because he sounded like he was doing an imitation of Alexander Skarsgård Stellan, the dad.
Yeah.
It
but
sounded
Austin Butler's voice sounded like Austin Butler talking.
No, what it sounded like was Austin Butler doing an impression. Of Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron Harkonnen. And I just don't, there was a couple times where it was close enough that I actually couldn't tell who was talking because nobody moved their lips. Nobody moved their lips. And like at all. And then like he would be talking to the Baron and the Baron's like his face is mostly under oil water and yet they're both sound exactly as hell. Who's talking? And I think that character would have actually worked better if we'd let Austin Butler have his natural voice. His natural speaking voice, because it would have been a beautiful juxtaposition of like all the other characters, and then he is this like sleek.
Because Feyd-Rautha in the book is supposed to be a contrast to the Baron as a very suave, like beautiful, charismatic person,
right?
Rather than just a like slimmer, more dexterous version.
I liked the implication that there was long-term damage done to the Baron.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's on a breathing machine the whole movie. Because when the Duke sprayed him with mouth poison from the tooth, he got hurt and he didn't get all the way better. And I liked that a lot. I think really my only real complaints are in the second half, and I think they should have rushed the first half so they could have lingered in the second, because the first part is long. It's a little bit too long, and then the second part is
him
like
establishing himself.
And then the second part was like, oh shit, we can't make this as long as Killers of the Flower Moon, so pedal to the metal, bitches, we're got to go. And that's what it feels like, because all of a sudden he goes to the south, he takes the water, Chani saves him, then he's the prophet, and then they're like, okay, we've raised an army, let's go kill the emperor. I send him a letter and he comes immediately. The ending should have been 2/3 and the beginning should have been a third instead of switch that, reverse it. Because it takes him so long to establish himself as a Fremen, and the worm writing was fucking cool. That was like the best part. The fact that the worms weren't all the way out of the sand.
Yes.
That the worms were just
I thought that was cool that when they're riding it, they're at the surface.
Yeah.
And they're getting just barraged with sand the
Oh,
whole
that
time.
was really fucking cool. Like, I really liked the worm riding. That was really cool. And then the whole battle was great. Everything was great. It was good. The sword, the knife
Gurney
fight at the end.
We got Gurney playing the
and
battle
that was
set.
the perfect length. The like, Gurney killing Raban was the perfect. The like punch, stab, dead.
Right.
Was like great.
Because Gurney's such a badass. It's not going to be a drawn out fight scene.
I still want my Gurney spinoff. Like, I need
so we need
a Gurney story.
Multiple hour long movie of Gurney where it's that level of fight scene and just alternating fight scene and then like soft Gurney. It's like wine women's song weapons. That's Gurney.
Triple cipher. Yeah.
So yes, I liked all the Gurney stuff, and in respect to the whole narrative, I think this sells the consequence of Dune Messiah the best.
Yeah, it's perfection. Yeah, the
this
Holy
is
War.
A much better like seed for a like fundamentally zealous religious war that crosses the galaxy. And we got at the end, instead of him being recognized as emperor, they're like, oh yeah, the great houses don't recognize you being the emperor.
And he's like, lead them to paradise. And the reluctant moment, the like, literally, I am now deciding the fate of billions of people.
Yeah.
And he goes, lead them to paradise. And they're like, woo, yeah, we'll go kill people. So they run off. And,
and
like,
this is still the narrow path.
Perfect. Yeah.
That leads to the least bad outcome.
Yeah. And the like, when he's talking to his mom and he does the hand gesture where he's like, our enemies are all around us, and he draws the square, and then he turns his hand sideways and he's like, there is just a narrow path through the middle. And the way he did that as like it was a perfect way to...
Maybe Timothy is a good hand actor, but not a good... Maybe he's good at acting above the waist, but not below the waist.
He's young, right? I
Yeah,
think
that's a good point.
I think in 10 to 15 years he may yet be formidable. I just think he doesn't have the facial expression range. But that's a Gen Z thing. They are not. I know. This is very generalized. I understand that, but in my experience, Gen Z actors are not facially emotive. Think about Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh, who did a brilliant job in this, by the way, has the Florence Pugh frown. The frowny face she makes. Everyone made fun of her, and so she stopped doing it. Well, now she doesn't make any facial expressions. Well, but that's what they want. Like they like that, like deadpan face, and I want to fuck it. I actually biologically need the facial expression to be able to know what you are trying to say to me.
Right.
Because I can't tell tone of voice well enough to be able to tell you,
to intuit the meaning behind it.
to intuit what emotion you are feeling from your tone. I need the combo. I need the 1-2 punch. I need it thrown at me what you're feeling, or I'm not going to get it. And so when you have an actor who has a fairly monotone voice and then a very stoic facial face, to me, he's neutral. He doesn't look like he's feeling anything at all. I can't read any kind of nuance into a voice that like Timothy Chalamet's. So I'm never going to get it unless he, like the part where he is actually acting with his voice and he's shouting out to the people in the like temple thing.
Mm-hmm.
That I got. And I loved the Gurney Chani moment there where he pulls her down and he's like, let this happen. And she's like, no, don't you get it? He's manipulating these people. And he's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, he told you.
Yeah. What do you think was going to happen? How did you think he was going to raise an army, Chani? How did you think this is the only way to save everybody. Like, you got to trust us on. Just like he says at the beginning, you've been at war with the Harkonnens for decades. We've been at war with the Harkonnens for centuries. And I know Harkonnen. And the only way to defeat them is to think like them. And that's what I have to do. And his mom pigeonholes him into this. She sets up the only way forward is for him to fulfill the prophecy that she has been force feeding everybody. And great. We got a little bit of Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, we didn't get baby Alia at all.
No.
Because Alia had not been born yet. Which, okay, like that simplifies how do you include Alia. You don't have to kind of hand wave around, oh, she just matured really fast. And so she's chronologically 2 years old, but she's biologically like 4 or 5 by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a hand wavy thing that happens in the book.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I missed a little bit the part where Paul and Chani have a baby boy.
Oh, yeah.
Leto.
Well, it's because we don't have enough time.
Right. And the part that I guess the thing that adds to the story is emotional investment from Paul.
Yeah.
To actually be seeking revenge at the end of the movie.
Right.
Because like the way this happened, it's mostly just a responsive thing like, oh, if I don't do this, we die. So I'm avoiding death.
Yeah.
But when we have, okay, we're beating up the Harkonnen, but I'm making a life here. I have all this time with Chani. We have a son. I'm part of the family.
Yeah.
And then the Harkonnens killed my fucking son. They will die.
Yeah.
Now we have an escalation of emotion. Whereas here, it's, I'm angry because they killed my dad and took away my, like,
They kept calling him Leto.
Whatever.
Leto, come on. Use the same pronunciation as part 1.
So here they have, he's upset because they killed his dad and they took away his like ducal position.
Ducalness.
Ducality.
His ducality.
And so that's motivating him to, get in with the Fremen and get them on his side, at least like learn how to live in the desert from them and see if he can get some of them to cooperate with him against the Harkonnen. But over time, emotion fades.
Right.
And so to have the death of his father continue to have that same emotional weight carrying through to the end of the movie where he's like...
Well, it's less than a year.
Right.
Yeah.
But even then...
Yeah.
It's been a year of a lot of changes, a lot of ingratiating himself with the Fremen.
Yeah, it doesn't... I feel like the longer time span gives us more of he has really become one of them, as opposed to
right.
he showed up on this planet and he learned their ways in less than 9 months.
6 months, yeah.
I mean, he went from I know nothing except what I've read in film books to I can ride a worm in 6 months. That smacks of like The Last Samurai. We're like, oh, I'm a white guy. I wash up on your shore. I can do what you can do already and better in like 5 to 6 months.
Right. In the time for my like shoulder injury to heal or whatever it was.
And I mean, that's kind of the point that white savior sort of narrative, the inversion of the white savior narrative is the point of Dune. And so we just literally set up every domino of the white savior narrative. We got the young white guy who shows up, can do what you can do. He can do anything you can do better. He can do anything better than you, like right away. And he also is fulfilling a Messiah prophecy, which I loved that Chani kept calling out that was just to control them. Like, you guys know this is just to fucking control us, right? And they're all like, Chani, sit down. Stop talking. That was probably my favorite, was that the Fremen are not one mind.
Yes.
Because in the book, it's very much like the Fremen believe this. And it's like, yes, all Fremen believe this.
They were not monoculture of religion.
Yeah, it was like the North is a little bit more urban. It's a little bit less religious. The South is isolated, and as a result, they're much more fundamentalist. They're much more religious. I loved how alien the South looked, that the South looked like the surface of Mars. Like, it looked alien. It did not look like a desert. It looked completely different. And I just felt like they made a lot of really good choices. And my only real nitpick is Timothée Chalamet needed a little little zhuzh. He just needed a little like facial expression and vocal emotion. Like I needed more from him and I didn't get it. And I think that I would have felt a lot better about him had we gotten some small moments in the second half. I wanted some more moments of him and Chani so that when they broke up, I fucking felt it. And I didn't fucking feel it. Like, I loved that slap after he took the water of life. Yeah. That was great. And then I wanted a moment where they had a conversation. Right. And they never had a conversation. And we were doing well
up until he rode the worm. Because we get the scene in the tent where they're just snuggling in the tent. And he has a nightmare. And she's like, tell me about your nightmare.
You haven't had one of those in a while.
And it's like, okay, great. We're building this momentum of, hard scenes and soft scenes and making sure that we're seeing the intimacy between Paul and Chani. And then we didn't get any more after that.
Yeah, that was it.
So
she was like, you bitch, I can't. What did we say in the theater? He doesn't want to go south. He's like, I don't want to go south. You know what's going to happen. There's things I'm going to have to do. And she's like, well, we kind of got to go south because they bombed Siege Tabir, which was really sad. Tabor to Taburn, they kept saying it really weird.
Even in like God Emperor of Dune, sometimes it's Tabor, sometimes it's Tabor.
Whatever. It's Tabr. So the Siege, they bombed the Siege and they're like, well, we got to go. And he's like, if I go, I'll have to do what has to be done. And she's like, it's cool. You're never going to leave me I'm never going to leave you as long as you stay you. And he's like, cool. Then they go south and he immediately has to do shit. Like
He does what he has to do. And then Chani's like, oh, I can't believe you had to do what you had to do.
we brought back Jamis. He had that
Yes.
moment where he's like, Jamis, talk to me. And Jamis is like, a good hunter goes to the highest dune because he has to see. You need to see. And he's like, all right, fucking fine. And so then he goes and he takes the water of life and she's mad at him. It's like, if I go south, you know what I'll have to do. And she's like, I get it. And then it's like, I can't believe you did what you said you were going to do.
I can't believe you followed through on your promises.
That's why it felt male. It felt very like, oh my God. Like she was immediately right up until then. Chani was a great character and she's a fine character. It didn't completely ruin my enjoyment of the movie, but this felt like a very all or nothing. Like, I'm a man and I have to do what I'm called to do. And even if that means giving up my woman.
So by the end of the movie, when she's kind of like, I'm leaving, it's like, okay, well, like, were you even still together?
I know. Yeah.
I don't know.
I wanted to fucking
I didn't feel that invested.
I wanted to feel it. And the only way to make you feel that is to give you more of them.
More screen time together.
Alone together. Like, them being together, them laughing, them playing, that like them doing more
even
than
him just like walking through the sand and like having memories of her. Just thinking about her.
Yeah, just small things would have been fine. And instead, the only two real intimate moments we get is like them kissing and then them post-coital. And that's pretty much it, which is so male. Like the only meaningful moments we had together is when we were having sex.
Well, there was the tent scene with the nightmare.
Yeah.
So 2/3 sex.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's it. I mean, I think that would I'll put it into the universe. Can we have the extended edition where we have some more small moments in the second half?
Yeah.
So that I felt the emotional journey a little bit better. But other than that, I think it's great. I've been seeing
visually,
a lot of
outstanding.
Fucking perfect. And I've been seeing a lot of people come out, out of theater reviews. 10 out of 10. This is a perfect movie. And that they're all dudes, obviously. So, I think maybe that's just because to me the central story isn't Paul; it's Paul and Chani. And when you don't give me Paul and Chani, you cast Zendaya. You cast this phenomenal actress who could have given us these beautiful small moments, and then you make her like, well, she's a warrior woman. Well, yeah, she's a warrior woman, but she's also a woman. Right. That's what I liked about the Dune miniseries is Chani is both, I could probably kill you with my hairpin, but I'm wearing a hairpin because I'm a pretty, pretty princess. Like, that's what I liked about the Chani.
And I love being Paul's wife.
And I love being Paul's wife, and I get it. I share you with something bigger than both of us, and that's fine with me. And I think I missed that. I think I wanted that and I didn't get it. And I got a lot of other things, and they only had a couple hours to work with. I get it. I had to pee after like 45 minutes. So I was like, I have apparently not been to the theater in a while because I kept being like, I want to see how much time is left. Like, can I?
Yeah, like let me just pause it for a second so I can see that's the slider. Yeah.
It's one of my neurospicy things is how much time is left in the movie so I can know like how much more story am I anticipating. And I couldn't do it because I'm in the theater and I can't look. And I also couldn't pause it to go pee, and I didn't want to go pee because there was so much stuff happening. But anyway, go see it. It was good. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to part 3. This felt like a bridge movie. It felt like a bridge movie.
Yeah.
It gave me massive Empire Strikes Back. Like we ended up broken up. But we ended up with a confession of love that wasn't really requited. So it gave me massive Empire Strikes Back vibes. And so what we need is our Return of the Jedi to just it all up. And then when you go back and watch the middle one, it'll be even better because you'll know where you're going. And I think that's about all I have to say. Do you have anything you have to say, honey?
Let's see. I looked up the Arabic pronunciation of the
muezzin.
The muezzin, the person who calls everyone to prayer. And let's see if I can get it in the mic. Muaddin.
Yeah.
Which sounds a lot like Muad'Dib. So this The fact that that word is so similar to his name in the book reminds me of how in Geometry for Ocelots, the like king or whatever has like scoured ancient human history and mythology and constructed this new story using old mythology
Yeah.
ideas. And then in Dune, there's a lot of like, okay, here's the Orange Catholic Bible. I think orange is in Buddhism. There's a focus on like colors having significance for things, and I think orange is something profound or whatever. But I'm wondering if maybe that's a reason why it's called the Orange Catholic Bible.
Oh, could
But
be, yeah.
the Orange Catholic Bible is a lot of the like Christian Bible, but there's a whole lot of other stuff in there, other human religions, just kind of mushed in, interwoven through the Christian concepts.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, Frank did that first, and then
Hell yeah, he did.
and then Exerbia did it in Geometry for Ocelots. And so I'm recognizing that sound, that word sound, as, oh, that sounds just like Muad'Dib,
Yeah.
just adds to that.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I want to see how Timothy can pull off the stone burner scene to I find myself in a universe I don't like with flesh that doesn't fit.
Yeah. That
Tim.
line better be in the fucking movie part 3.
Tim. We're counting on you, bro. You're counting on you, bro. Okay? We need you to practice facial expressions in the mirror, okay? Can you do that for me? That'd be great. All right.
All right, that's all I had to say.
Okay. Yeah. So generally we liked it. We had some criticisms. That's not to be unexpected, but go see the movie. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you already saw it.
And remember, sometimes the strangest things are the most beautiful too.
So be who you are and love what you love. Until next time, friends.
Bye.
Bye.